All right, we're going to flip back to page 7, item 12. That's page 7, item 12, 2023-0331. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you may have had. I know we got some. Councilman Amaro.
Through the chair, I would like to declare ex parte on Friday, the 15th. I had the opportunity to visit the medical examiner's office to get a firsthand look as to the needs, the deficiencies, and the conditions of the current building. My ex parte has been filed with Legislative Services.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Joe Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to declare ex parte. I also toured the medical examiner's facility yesterday and got a presentation by the director of operations there for the new building, the current facility, and we will get that filed with Legislative Services.
All right, thank you very much. I have ex parte to claim. I had a meeting right before this meeting with all these wonderful people in the front row that will put their names on the ex parte sheet, but we just talked about the meeting last night and some of the details of the building, how many square foot would be used for certain items, and we discussed some of the costs that it would hurt the city or help the city if we had to move it. So we will get that written up and file it with Legislative Services. All right, let's go ahead and open the public hearing and get a staff report.
This is conventional rezoning ordinance number 2023-0331, seeking to rezone approximately 4 acres of city-owned land from CCG1 to PBF1 in order to develop the property with a medical examiner's office. The subject property is located at 4368 Davis Street North, between I-95 on-ramp and Gulfer Boulevard within the Brentwood neighborhood area. While the current zoning district of CCG1 would allow for this type of use or similar uses, including doctor's office, surgical centers, urgent care facilities, and emergency rooms, it has been best practice to have lands owned by the city for uses related to government functions be rezoned to the zoning district of PBF1. We find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan with a land use category of CGC, and staff forwards a recommendation of approval. Planning Commission reviewed this application on June 22nd and voted for approval in a 5-2 vote. There were several speakers in opposition that attended this meeting. Since the last LUZ meeting on September 6th, staff has attended a community meeting with the neighborhood and Councilwoman Pittman to provide zoning information and answer any questions that the citizens had on the project, where several city staff were in attendance of that meeting, including Public Works, Office of General Counsel, Mayor's team, and the Medical Examiner's Office. And many of these individuals are also in attendance tonight to answer any additional questions that the LUZ may have.
All right, thank you for the report. City of Jacksonville is the applicant, so as with any rezoning, the applicant has a chance to speak for 5 minutes first and then rebuttal on the end. So on behalf of the Mayor's office, we have Brittany Norris, and if you could fill out a card for us after so we could have your name and information on the record.
Absolutely, I can do that. Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair to the committee, I just want to give you a brief overview of this project, a little bit of history, our current status, and then some information on the zoning or request for zoning, a change in zoning. So the EAbney's office serves multiple counties, not just Duval. There's been an increased need for space as the population of Northeast Florida has increased. And so in 2015, this process began initially with a selection process to find a good location. There have been some questions about the location. This area was chosen for a number of reasons. Mainly, it fits the requirements. It is city-owned, so fiscally, it was a good move on part of COJ. Close proximity to Shands, it's next to 95. It's not in a flood zone. There's no contamination issues, which were a problem with several other locations. And it's the right size. We needed 4 acres for this, for the EAbney's new location. The building that's going to go there is state-of-the-art. It's a very modern and actually very pretty facility. We do have some large renderings. We can display those. To give you a current status update, the city so far has invested about $5 million into this project. To halt the project or to demobilize could cost us upwards of $10 million or more. It would also put the medical examiner's office 5 years behind in this process of creating a new facility to meet the demand of Northeast Florida. Currently, construction is underway, and this has caused concern, rightly so. Normally, you don't begin construction before you have the proper zoning in place. However, as was stated earlier, the current zoning, CG1, this is a permitted use. But to put us in the best posture, what is best practice, the city submitted an application to rezone to PBF 1. So that's why we are here. That's why construction is underway, because it was a permitted use already. I have Josh Gideon here, who is available to talk more about the zoning change as well. And then we have a variety of staff as well for questions and other stuff.
Josh Gideon, I'm the Interim Planning and Development Director. So as staff shared with you previously, the use of a medical examiner's office is compatible with the zoning of CCG1. And the reason why we're pursuing the rezoning is because of the best practice outlined in our ordinance that government buildings be in a PBF 1 zoning. And so it's not a matter of use, it's a matter of ownership is why we're pursuing the zoning at this time. I'm available for questions.
We'll hold the questions till after everyone has a chance to speak, but you got the clock running at 2 minutes. If anyone else in the party wants to address us in the opening. Keep the clock running, please, Eric.
No, we're good. We are here for questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next speaker is Tabitha Byers, followed by Katrina Spencer. Also want to welcome Councilmember Rahman Johnson. Mr. Johnson and Ms. Pittman were coming from Rebald High School. We should have sent you a tardy slip. Councilman Freeman, you're here too. Former Council President Freeman, welcome. Were you also there at the? Okay, you need to go to the tardy booth and get a slip, sir. All right, you are recognized, Ms. Byers.
Thank you, Tabitha Byers. Address is on file. Wasn't expecting to go first, but okay. So we had this meeting last night, and Miss Bell stood up, and you probably saw it on the news, said, would anyone like 300 bodies in their neighborhood? Nobody raised their hand. Legal and moral and ethical are not the same thing, and I recognize that, but the lack of respect to this neighborhood, these elderly folks have stood out on the sidewalk all summer, fighting against what they deem, and I deem with them, injustice. And to find out last night that the liquor store that we fought so hard is going to just be used by the morgue was just a gut punch, really. I know I'm not supposed to say names, but someone did say last night that the city dropped the ball on this. So how do you compensate a neighborhood for taking away, and I understand the zoning is there, again, legally it all makes sense, but when are we going to start respecting one another, right? And looking out for the common man, because the reason I got involved, quite frankly, I would much rather just be at home with my family, but I got involved because I kept seeing, especially more at a federal level, corruption and people never being held accountable, it seems. And I can't do a whole lot at a federal level, but I can do something more where I live. So I started getting involved, and divine intervention led me to meeting the people in Brentwood. They've become like my new best friends. Miss Lydia Bell, what she does for the neighborhood is just remarkable. She doesn't get enough praise. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but every summer she goes to Cleveland, Ohio to stay with her friend for 3 months every year. I hope this is okay. She didn't do that this year. She stayed behind to fight for her neighborhood, to fight for the children of her neighborhood. She shared stories with me about what was like growing up in Jacksonville in a Jim Crow South. And to be in the golden years of her life, fighting against what we see as disrespect and injustice is probably the last thing she wants to be doing. And all of the rest of them who are with her sisters, family, friends who are like sisters, all of them. So I just ask you to appeal to your ethical and moral side and do what's right for the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Katrina Spencer, followed by Dolores Robinson.
Good afternoon. I'm Katrina Spencer. My address is on file, and I oppose the medical building being built there on Davis and Gulf Fair and Castlewood. And the rezoning, I'm opposed to that because they have already taken down a stop sign that prevents you from driving straight on through. They already have taken down a light on the pole with lighting for the streets at night. They already is stopping the kids from playing. They have a sign up. We had a sign up for kids are walking across the street to go to the school. That sign is down also. And you could hear them working, starting those trucks coming in at 5 a.m. in the morning. And they talking about a wall is being put up. That wall is not going to stop that noise. And that building is still going to have traffic coming through that single street. The street already narrow with 2 ditches on the side. And it's already being blocked off by the trucks that are coming in. And the building shouldn't even be in that area. Why the building can't be over by UNF off of the end of Jefferson and all the way down 10th Street. All those buildings and areas is empty. And I'm sure the city owns part of that. All that land is right there around the medical building, off of 8th Street. They talking about the expressway. The hospital is right there off of 8th Street. So that medical building could be right there off of 8th and 10th and the Boulevard. And it's a lot of property there. We do not need that in our neighborhood. I don't want to wake up thinking about dead people in a building, not even 200 feet from my home. And that back street they talking about, Basswood, that street leads right behind the resident's house, and especially it's my house. And they normally don't clean that street. All of a sudden, they done dug up the street. And if you live in that area, you wouldn't want that neither. I've been in that area for 54 years, and they have always let us know anything that was coming in that area before they start doing the work. This work have been going on, and they didn't even let anyone know until later. Okay. And I oppose the zoning.
Thank you. Next, we have Dolores Robinson, followed by Amina Sharif.
Good evening to everyone in their respective places. My name is Dolores Robinson. My address is 4724 West Castlewood Drive. I just want to tell you, thank you for the opportunity to talk. I was bamboozled again last night at the meeting because all of this was done before you all did anything about putting it before us. So the amount of money that you spent, you shouldn't have, but you did. And you want to act like it's our fault that you spent the money. We had people to give information that told us, even though the liquor store part has been done, they already got the people and the money set up to buy that land from the man who wouldn't sell. He's still getting more accolades than necessary. My children have grown up in that area. My grandchildren are there. I just think it's really unfair that you all don't regard people that have been paying taxes for 46 years. That's me. Y'all could take the money. I don't get any notices, and I verified that. But that property still is in Dolores Robinson. If you could take my money for the taxes, you should be able to listen and let me have a voice. And I know you all are going according to what you think is right. If your conscience don't condemn you, neither can I, but God can. Stand for which is right. Do the right thing for the right reasons. You're held accountable, each one of you who know to do right and don't do it. We put you in office to help us and be with us, as well as work for the state, the city. But when you do contrary to that, you don't give us an opportunity to say, job well done. But if you can live with that, I have no choice. But I hope you will change your mind and do what's right for the elderly. I'm one of the elderly. And I thank God that He allowed me to be here now 77 years. But it's not with this type of thing that I'd like to have as I go to the latter part of my life. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
All right, thank you so much. Next we have Amina Sharif, followed by Lydia Bell.
Good evening, Amina Sharif. My address is on file. The presentation given last night was a presentation that we, the community, should have gotten from the people from the morgue. They have never, ever met with the community, which is a process that's at the beginning. I have worked in the corporate offices in New York. I know processes and procedures must be followed. Ordinances that have been violated, policies and procedures have been violated, but you move about as if nothing has been done wrong. When in essence, you can't go to process C until you went through A and B. A and B has been walked over, disrespected, and not even considered at all. And for you as the council members, you're the ones that's supposed to protect the community. You're the ones been voted in to protect our rights. When you say the city, you're talking about all of us, not just some of us. Now, the ordinances that have been violated, that by itself should have stopped the procedures that are in operation now. You got 3 projects: the liquor store, the morgue, and the supposedly the seafood place that is coming. Now, who's signing off on these? Usually when you're looking for corruption, they say follow the money. I say follow the people that have signed off on these 3 processes that none of them have went through the proper procedures. We ask that you as the city council do your job. Ordinances by itself have been violated. That should have stopped the processes. To ask the question, what is going on here wrong? Even from this side, the gentleman said that they saw 3 permits, but then there's an application for the rezoning. That hasn't been approved. So why are these people building as if everything has been approved? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our last speaker is Lydia Bell. And then while you're coming up, Ms. Bell, I have a card for Alfredo Dassi, who is in opposition but chooses not to speak. Ms. Bell, you're recognized.
Good evening. Lydia Bell, President of Metro Gardens Neighborhood Association. Address is on file. Our copyrighted motto is, if you can't take care of your community cannot take care of you. How do you bring a morgue, 300 bodies, and a forensic lab into a neighborhood and you don't even talk to the residents? This project started February 16. Last night, September 18th, was the first time we heard anything from anybody about this morgue. It is the most disrespected heartbreaking. Every time I come off of 95, it makes me sick to see what they have come into that neighborhood and did. You know, we're talking about children. It's across the street from a school, from our neighborhood. How do you, we have questions about the health risks. How will it affect the children 6 through 11 years old watching crime scene vans come through? That's a small street. Police reports, all of that. The traffic, we haven't had a traffic report. How do you do that? How do you just come into a neighborhood and start tearing it up without saying anything to the residents? Last night was the first time they presented anything to us, the first time we saw anything. And when they presented that last night, they presented every crime they had committed in our neighborhood. So when you, I think former General Counsel Jason Till said, we dropped the ball. Well, I was a shortstop, and I was pretty good at it. And when you drop a ball, you pick it up and you try to make it right. So we need to pick this up and make it right and do something that will not affect our children, our health. And then they talk about a forensic lab. A forensic lab, people coming from all over the world to study. It's as if no diseases are out here. That doesn't make me feel good for people to be coming in my neighborhood with what kind of disease or even over in the forensic lab. Our children deserve better. When we stand next to the morgue, you can look right in the school window. That is not right, and we're going to ask you all to stop this, to give us an opportunity to do some study on the effects, the germs, the lab coats, the gloves they have to dispose of. All of that need to be taken in account and studied before you just put a morgue over there in our neighborhood. And for them to do it like they did, it is just an insult, a disgrace, and I'm traumatized as well as all our. Everybody say they're 70-some years old, and we are, and we're tired. We want to live our best life.
Thank you very much. Did you want to speak? You have a card?
Yes.
Come on down. Just give us your name and address for the record and turn the card in up front when you're finished.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Balcom. Address is on file. I, too, want to piggyback off my colleagues. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace. When we're out there fighting for a liquor store in our neighborhood in the hot sun, we're picketing and fighting. We were told that after it won, that we were going to have a voice as to what it's going to be. We were told yesterday, on contingent of keeping a liquor store, it has to be with the medical examiner building. That's not right. That's not right. I represent 200 seniors and individuals with disabilities. In our area, they have taken the only food stamp office out of our area. Now from north side, they have to go way out Art Museum Drive. I have seniors can't even catch the bus. Now they have to make arrangements to get to Art Museum Drive. That's not right. I have Aldi coming in. They have taken our pharmacies away. We need pharmacies. The only pharmacy we have over there is Walgreens, or they got to get a bus to go to CVS. And we know who part owner CVS. This is not right. We don't want morgue in our neighborhood. We don't need a morgue. It doesn't fit. I suggested to Mr. Long yesterday, why don't you take, since you need easy access to 95, take 435 Clark Road. That's easy access. Ain't nothing over there but a big building. You have land over there. It doesn't fit in our neighborhood. We don't want it. We need other things. We're a food desert. There's other things we can do for our neighborhood than put a medical examiner building with dead bodies. Look at us. It's about us. It's about us. And we vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That was our last speaker. If someone from the administration wants, you have 3 minutes on a rebuttal.
Thank you, Chair. So just a reminder, the city has invested up to $5 million into this property. And I wish that we did have a blank check where we could put this just anywhere that we wanted. We are limited as to what properties we can possibly utilize. And like we said, this one fits the bill. Just to respond to a few things, no decedents will be ever visible to the public. On this, do you have a picture of the bay doors? There are several large bay doors on the back of the building. So when a decedent is delivered to the facility, the bay door opens, the vehicle goes in, bay door closes. There's also a large wall that will be around the building. Our goal is to shield the neighborhood from this and to maintain a level of privacy for neighbors and also for the ME's office. Also, the types of vehicles that will be coming into this facility will vary. It's not just going to be a bunch of crime scene cars, trucks. So the traffic impact on this area actually will be minimal and will be less than what the current use or what the past use has been. A very small part of this is a morgue, yes, but it is not a crematorium. No bodies will be burned. There will be no smell. There are no health concerns. If there were, we would have seen that with the current facility as well. And just a side note on the liquor store, which I realize is a wholly separate project from this, in response to hearing the neighborhood's concerns, the city has worked to purchase the liquor store, and that contract is going through OGC as we speak. So we've been doing our best to hear and respond to the concerns of the neighborhood. I think and also just to clarify, no policies, ordinances, or procedures have been violated. I understand how this looks to the neighbors. The rezoning is what triggered that public notice to folks. Before this, the current zoning, the use, we were good to go. It is a legal and permitted use in the current zoning. As we said, this zoning change puts us in the best posture as a city facility on city-owned land, and it actually restricts future uses for the land going forward. I think the ultimate goal with the medical examiner's office is to provide dignity to these decedents, to help identify the cause of their death, next steps to receive next of kin in a facility that is modern and upbeat. For those of you who have gone to the current facility, it is dreary, it is not in a good state, it is overflowing. And also, you'll see by the design of the building, the idea is to bring dignity as well to this location. We are putting in a very expensive, very nice new building, which I think from 95 too, it'll look very good. We believe that there might even be a bit of a boost for the neighborhood. This brings in working professionals who can patronize local businesses and highlights Brentwood, I think, actually in a decently good way. We're bringing folks to work there. We're opening up possible job opportunities. And we are working, I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So now what we're going to do, committee, is open up for Q&A while we have the public hearing open. So anyone that has a question or wants to address anything that's been said, hop on in the queue. I was reminded, though, Mr. Johnson, do you have ex parte to claim before we start with the question and answer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for recognizing me. I do have several pieces of ex parte to declare. First and foremost, Mr. Chair, Ms. Lydia Bell, via phone, we spoke on the 18th for over an hour, and I listened the whole time. I'm so honored that she chose to call me early Monday morning, but that's my first one, and she just discussed her opposition to this legislation as well. On last evening, I attended the community meeting over in the Brentwood community. I was going to ask questions. I did not, but I was able to hear some feedback to get those questions answered by the administration. I will jump in the queue for some questions, but those are the two ex partes that I'm filing, and I have been in touch with legislative services, and those things are on file. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. First up, Councilmember Gaffney.
All right, through the chair, I got a few questions. Bear with me. The first question from Mr. Gideon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If we don't approve the zoning tonight, I guess what is the future of the medical examiner building?
Okay, that question would be best answered by Public Works, Tim or Robin? Steve?
You want to clarify your question one more time while he comes up?
Yep. So my question is, if we don't approve the zoning tonight, I mean, because the last few months, there's been a lot of dialogue, a lot of communication, a lot of rah-rah, riff. Does it need to be rezoned? Does it not need to be rezoned? So I'm sort of confused. I know we at third base tonight, and we about to vote. So I need to know the implications and the consequences if we oppose this rezoning or we approve this rezoning. So my question is, if this body was to oppose the vote tonight, the rezoning, what is the future implications of the medical examiner building?
Okay, I'm not a zoning specialist or expert, but if this was to be voted to where the medical examiner's office could not be constructed on this site, it would basically end this project as we know it and send us back to the drawing board. So if we had to go back to the drawing board, the money we've invested in the project would be lost. Then we'd have to start the process over again. It would mean the medical examiner would remain in their current facility, which is extremely undersized. It is outdated and doesn't have the amenities that are truly needed for a world-class type of facility, which is what is proposed in that new building.
Yep. So for clarification, I'm a redundant person. So you said if we was to oppose it, it pretty much kill this moving forward with the medical examiner building.
If steps were taken to where the medical examiner's office couldn't be built on that site, it would go back to the drawing board and the project would have to start over from scratch.
Sorry, for clarity, and we do need OGC to weigh in on this, and so we can give you a better opinion. Because it is a permitted use in the current zoning, we are working under, and this is going to be hard news for the neighbors, construction can continue. This puts us in the best posture, to my knowledge, but we do need an official opinion from OGC.
As we wait, we have Mr. Teal.
So, through the chair to the committee, so the issue here is whether this is a permitted use in the existing zoning, and it is. So it is a permitted use in the CCG1 zoning category. The decision was made by the planning department to push this rezoning forward because of the fact that this is going to be a city-owned building on city-owned property. So under the zoning code, there's a preference in there for those properties to be in PBF1 zoning category. So it's not a legal mandate that it be in PBF1. So if the committee were or the council were to deny the rezoning, legally the project could still go forward because the underlying zoning of CCG1, the existing zoning, would allow for it anyway.
Okay. Through the chair, thank you. If who was denied, would the medical examiner building have any limitations?
Through the chair to Councilmember Gaffney. So if you were to deny it, it would just be under the regular zoning. So now, because it's a conventional rezoning, it's not a PUD, it's a conventional rezoning, you can't put any conditions on it anyway through the zoning process. But I do think that Mayor's office can confirm, the administration can confirm, they are willing to work with the neighborhood in order to look at buffers, to look at, and I think that's the reason why for the site layout, where the doors are, the wall around it, those kinds of things to soften the impact or to mitigate the impact on the neighborhood. But they can detail more on that if you want.
All right, and that's a great segue into my second question because I'm not sure what the body gonna do tonight. I'm right now is moving forward and opposing it right now. I guess my question for the community, and Kevin, I know you're the chair, and we at third base. My question to the community, and I know we're working with time, what would be a compromise? Would it sound like, and Brittany, before I ask the community today question, I'm assuming the mayor's office support the rezoning and the location of the medical examiner building.
So the frustrating news is we are inheriting this project from the past administration, and due to the amount of money and work that has already gone into this, the fact that the ME's office is behind schedule in getting a new building, we're pretty hesitant to stop this process. I can tell you that we have made changes to the site plan, moving the building closer to 95, purchasing the liquor building, several moves to help, as Jason Teal is saying, to mitigate the impact on the neighborhood, but the administration is not apt to change this.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I guess my last question for the community, what will be and all of us know this, when we get involved in politics, You know, it's a thin line, it's a fine line. You know, you always want to do best for your constituents. And I really do. I want to help out. You know, I work 5 minutes away from the Gateway area, the Medical Examiner building at CRC. So I definitely want to help and support. My question is, you know, in terms of a compromise, I mean, I know you guys oppose no flat out, but if you could walk away tonight and say, I could live with the Medical Examiner building being right there, if what? And I know, like I said, I know it's 6:10. I know we're going to vote on it tonight, but if you guys could really think about that, and I guess in the next 5 or 10 minutes, you know, and just let us know, you know, I could live with it if what, you know, and y'all could come, yeah, I guess you're coming up now, but.
Mr. Gaffney, if you want to direct your question to an individual and call them down.
Okay, so Lydia Bell, okay.
Okay. So Mr. Gaffney has a question for Ms. Bell. Ms. Bell, if you could approach.
And Ms. Bell, as you come up, not necessarily denying it, opposing it. We already know you guys feel that way. But you could live with the Medical Examiner building if A, B, C, and D.
But I want to answer your question. How do you compromise health? How do you compromise children's minds growing up around that type of environment? I don't see a compromise other than they can find Jacksonville is the largest city in the world by square mile. Why not put this in a safer place? Why do it have to be around children and our neighborhood? I can't answer that question.
And I definitely get what you can. So it's 6 people finna vote tonight, and I'm gonna be plain, flat out clear. It's 6 people finna vote. I'm pretty sure some of my colleagues want to meet you halfway. I'm not sure how they go vote, but they want to meet you halfway. I understand what you just said. I'm trying to meet you halfway. Like I said, you got at least 5 to 10 minutes to figure that out.
There has never been any study of how that morgue and forensic lab would affect our community or the children that's right across the street from the school. So that's what I'm asking this committee to do. Give us some time to come with these things that if you want to do a compromise, give us some time. We haven't had any time at all because the first presentation was last night. And then for people to get up here and say it went through the planning department, we didn't know anything about a planning department. September the 18th is the first time we saw anything of what they presented this evening. So give us some chance. That's the compromise. Give us a chance to do studies on the health effects of this morgue in our community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if I could defer it. That's up to the chairman or whatever. I'm not sure who could defer it. I'm not sure if the administrations want to defer it and ask for more time. But right now, we're finna vote. So for the last time, I do recommend, and y'all could huddle up back there. If y'all could live with the Medical Examiner building, if what? I'm not sure if we could defer it. I'm not sure if we at third base. I think we at that point when everyone is ready to vote. I don't make the decision. I don't think I do anyway. But back to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffney. Ultimately, I could choose to defer the matter. We did hear this at our first LUZ meeting in July. We've had several weeks. We've had a lot of public opinion, and we've had an official meeting. So unless it is overwhelming by my entire committee and I'm out on a limb by myself, I would rather us just go ahead and vote this through tonight. Mr. Teal, you're in queue, and then we have Mr. Arias, Councilman Arias next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Councilmember Gaffney. So talking about meeting halfway and the ability to come up with some conditions. So as I mentioned, because it's a conditional or a traditional rezoning, there's not ability to put conditions on the zoning itself. However, if you were to approve the rezoning to go to PBF1, because of the size of the building, they're going to have to come back for a zoning exception. You can put conditions on that zoning exception. So that's going to have to be a separately filed application so that they will have the opportunity to have some time to come up with some conditions or what they would want to recommend or see for that zoning exception. If it stays as the zoning tonight, in other words, if you deny the rezoning, then they can just build the building as is. They don't need an exception at that point. So by going forward with the rezoning, you do open up the need for that zoning exception, which could include conditions placed on it that would soften the use to the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Teal. We have Councilmember Arias in queue.
Thank you. Through the chair, I don't know who to direct these questions to, but I have a couple of questions regarding the medical examiner's building. Anybody from the administration would like to come up? Thank you. Very generic questions, which we all know, but I'm going to ask them either way. PBF1 to PBF2, right? Obviously, PBF1 is for any government building. PBF2 could be anything, medical offices, medical clinics, and all that. Is that why you went to PBF1? Mainly because of the government building status?
My name is Robin Smith. I'm on Public Works. I'll defer to planning on why PBF1 was suggested.
PBF1 is just used for any government land. It incorporates any use that is under local government. So if it's owned by the city and it's an operating as government use, the history has always been to go to PBF1 since it allows for all government type uses.
Thank you. So I asked that because back when we first took office, my first LUZ meeting, I had the question and it was never answered. People were confused. What are the restrictions on the height for a PBF1 building? And what is the square footage restriction? I know it could be 40,000 and above, but what about the height? And what is the height of this building?
So within the zoning district of PBF1, there are no limitations on height structure, but there are limitations on size. Anything 40,000 square feet or below is permitted by right. If the building is 40,000 or larger than 40,000 square feet, you will have to come back and do a zoning exception, which goes to Planning Commission for a vote. And another public hearing with notices sent out, mailed notices, notice signs on the property, and advertised in Daily Record.
And this building is what, 40,000 and above or 40,000 and below?
I believe it's above 40,000 square feet. Yeah.
Got it. All right, so because I've been doing some research, and impervious surface ratio, I can't find what that ratio percentage is anywhere online. What do we have for this building and for PBF1? PBF2 is 35%. I want to know that we're meeting the standards that we require for this.
For PBF1, the impervious surface ratio would be 85%.
And are we at that?
Through the chair, the civil plans have been reviewed and approved by the Development Services Division, so it does meet those minimum requirements.
All right. I have more questions, so don't leave. Now regarding the building itself and the employees, how many employees are we expected to see frequent this building on any given day?
Good evening, Tim Crutchfield, Director of Operations, District 4 Medical Examiner's Office. Currently we have 35 full-time employees with our current medical facility on any given day. With our normal day shift, because we have 3 shifts, which primarily comprise forensic investigators. You're looking at roughly about 15 employees per day at this time.
Okay, all right, so 15 employees altogether for that building?
During the normal working hours, so
35 altogether?
That's what we have as an FTE full for the whole.
For the entire building,
correct.
not just forensics, not just for the entire building?
Correct, yes.
40,000 square feet for 35 employees?
Yes,
that's a standard? Is that what it is?
Through the chair, this building is designed to accommodate the growth of over 30 years for the Jacksonville metropolitan area, as well as the 4 counties that we support. That was taken into consideration for the design and build of this facility.
The maximum allowable employees that you ever have there will be 35, maybe a little bit more, maybe 40 altogether, 45? Because we're capped essentially at what we have right now, right?
Through the chair, as we move into the facility and as future years come, the employee count could adjust to our not current workload, to our future workloads.
Well, I mean, as a restaurant owner, we have a capacity. So what is your capacity for employees to have there? How many people at the given building at any time based off of what you're doing there?
Through the chair, I do not have that number.
You guys,
I couldn't answer that question.
somebody should answer that, right? You guys have that. We're here in zoning, planning department. Anybody can answer that? I know in my restaurant, I'm required to have 150 max capacity. What is the max capacity for this building?
Maximum capacity for a building would be determined by building inspections and fire code. Current planning and zoning wouldn't have that determined number of maximum occupancy for a building.
Okay. I'm asking all these questions because, you know, I love the rendering. I think this building actually will bring something positive to the community. My entire time thinking, well, we have a 40,000 square feet building. We're going to have about 100, 150 employees there, providing to the local economy some traction for local businesses. But 15 employees doesn't do much of anything to the local economy. So that whole notion that we're going to boost the economy, it's really out the door for 15 employees. That doesn't do anything. However, I do, you know, I'm kind of like on Mr. Gaffney's side, you know, we need to figure out a way in the middle, right? I'm seeing this as a viable piece of land that will bring at least a positive light to the community, a nice building, some professionals to contribute to the local economy, in this case 15. The other solution, the other outcome would be we leave it up for something else in the future to go there, something that might be worse than what's being proposed. The fact that the time is of the essence, there's over $5 million already invested into it. To relocate it will be an additional $10 million. You know, and I've heard the public come out and speak about go by, you know, morals and gut feeling and everything. Personally, I feel that I will support this building because of what's being proposed. Some of the answers weren't as clear as I would like them to be, but I think that any other options would probably not be as great as something like this. And additionally, I think if anything, it would also probably increase the property value just because of the magnitude of that building and what it brings to the community. So, Mr. Gaffney and everybody here, I just wanted to put on the record that I would support this building.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said earlier, I had an opportunity to attend this community meeting, and at the very least, I'm disappointed. I have heard over and over again the administration say, we are following the law. And I understand that you may be following the law through the chair. Of course, I want to make sure I'm in the right posture. While I understand that you are following the law, we are talking about there's a reason why the law was made. So there's a spirit and a letter of the law. So although we may be following the letter of the law, the intent of the law is to ensure that the community has a voice. People are sitting here and they are saying, I just want to be heard. I spent 20 years on television as a journalist. And there are three things that I always found out from people. They wanted to know, do you see me? Do you hear me? Does what I have to say matter? Unfortunately, we are telling people in this community, we don't see you, we don't hear you, and what you have to say, we really don't care about. Don't say over and over again that we're following the law. Sometimes, my grandmother used to tell me, it's better to close your mouth and just listen. Silence is golden. In this space, I'm very disappointed to see, Mr. Chair, that as we look at the timeline for the project and what has been developed, that we are, and I understand the need to want to move expeditiously through this as we have been dealing with this since our first day on this council. But I don't see the need to rush into making this vote right now. While I am inclined to vote no on this, I still want to understand. I mean, my colleague just sat here and asked questions, and I am so confused as to how you can have plans for a building and not know how many people can fit in the building. That doesn't even make good nonsense. So what we need to do is have a time so that we can get some answers. That doesn't make sense. While no policies have been violated, I still want to make sure that, I mean, even so, Mr. Chair, you have said that we have been working on this piece of legislation for weeks or months. Well, I asked for some information a long time ago, and I've yet to get it. So I tell you that as we work through this process, what is important is that we not rush, even if we have to. I don't want to spend the taxpayers' dollars. I'm a taxpayer as well. I don't want to just, in a cavalier method, spend the dollars. I understand the need for the county surrounding this area to have this facility. I understand the need to want to have a world-class facility. But I also understand that there are people. I remember Thelma Daniels and Freddie Israel going to their houses in that area and sitting there. These were people, some of which were domestics and didn't have education. Some just wanted a piece of the American dream, and that's why they bought houses there. And now we're telling them, well, we can do what we want. All I ask is that we listen. So with that, Mr. Chair, I ask, and I don't think it would be too much of a hurt for us just to defer this, at least to get the information that many of my colleagues are asking for, and allow the time, as Mr. Gaffney so eloquently said, for the people in that community to say, I know we want progress, but here is how progress looks for us. Thank you.
All right, I don't think we can make a motion on that, sir. We're going to go ahead and continue the public hearing, which, just to remind everyone, this is our question and answer. Once we close the public hearing, that's the point where all of us will kind of enter into the debate and start to give your opinion. So I still want to keep the public hearing open so we can ask questions. I've had Ken Amaro pop on and off. I've had Joe Carlucci pop on and off. I want to recognize either one of you if you'd like to speak before we go to second. All right. All right, so for the second time, with the public hearing open for questions, Mr. Gaffney, if we could put 3 minutes on the clock.
This will be quick, through the chair. One of the things that we did in here tonight, I just heard it, that I guess the city is purchasing a liquor store, and they'll be used for the medical examiner building. That's the first to me. I would love to know, what will be the use, I guess, of the liquor store, medical examiner building. How much did we purchase the liquor store for? Sir? 1.8. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I believe, actually, OGC Jason Teal, we do have numbers on how much we purchased the liquor store for.
Through the chair to Councilmember Gaffney, the city's real estate division ordered an appraisal of the property, and it was appraised at $1.8 million. And so that would be the offer price, and that's tentative agreement that we've got. Now, that will have to come back before council for approval on that, but that's the plan. Now, as far as the use of the property for the medical examiner, so that the city can't just buy property from private property owners. We have to have a public use for it, and so the use so in essence, what that would mean is that this property would somehow have to be used as part of the medical examiner's campus. What that exact use is still something that can be discussed, but it does somehow have to be affiliated with the medical examiner's campus because of the fact of using taxpayer dollars to buy this property. It has to be used for a public purpose.
Thank you. All right, I'll come back. That's fine. So hold on. That 1.8, did that go into the 5 million, or that's 1.8 plus the 5 million?
I believe that it's separate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll come back.
All right. Before I go to Mr. Arias for the first time, I do have Mr. Carlucci. Excuse me, Arias for the second time, Mr. Carlucci. So he has unlimited time, as everyone else did on their first go-round.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have taken a lot of notes here tonight. I know that there's a lot of heated discussion, and the one question I just wanted to ask, perhaps OGC, is there any competent and substantial evidence to not vote for this? Because that's what it kind of boils down to on LUZ. From what I've been told from day one, is it kind of has to boil down to that, and I haven't heard anything that would trigger that or not. But Jason, can you speak to that?
Sure. Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci. So as the body here, this matter is before you as a quasi-judicial matter. What that requires is that your decision has to be based upon competent substantial evidence that's in the record before you, meaning all of the public hearings, all of the speakers, all of the evidence that they've provided. It's up to you to decide, based upon that evidence, whether you feel like that evidence is both competent and substantial. Now, competent means that it goes towards one of the criteria that you have to base your decision on. So the planning department has gone through in its staff report all of the different criteria to justify a rezoning of property. They have found that it met all of those criteria, so that in and of itself is competent substantial evidence. If there is other evidence that you've heard that would refute any of their findings or any of the other criteria, then you could use that as a basis. Now, the legal threshold is very small. It's a mere scintilla, is what the legal jargon is. But that's basically just that there's something in the record that you feel like you can hang your hat on. Substantial, so competent and substantial. So substantial, that means that it is sufficient to put in your minds the basis to be able to make your decision based on that evidence. So you can't use, you've seen it, where's show of hands, how many are opposed to this? That's not substantial evidence. It's not evidence that you can consider. It has to be evidence that somebody would be able to refute one of the findings with one of the criteria.
All right, thank you for that answer. I appreciate that, Mr. Teal, and that is all for now, Mr. Chair.
All right, for the second time, Councilmember Arias, 3 minutes.
Thank you. Through the chair. I had a couple more questions, and Mr. Gaffney already asked it, but what are you guys doing finally with the liquor store? You bought it, but what are we doing with it? Are we building something else in there, or is it just going to be an access to the building?
That is a good question, and we are open to ideas. The use of the liquor store would be to benefit the neighborhood somehow. We've talked about STEM, continuing STEM educational opportunities, all good stuff like that, but we don't have a defined final use yet.
Okay. Question over here, PBF1, how many structures can you have on PBF1?
So within the zoning district of PBF1, one building would be allowed by right, and multiple buildings would be allowed by zoning exceptions.
We have to make an exception if we do some kind of STEM building, is what we're talking about. Perfect. Time crunch, so I'm going to go quick. Community, all right. The way I see it, this building will bring a lot of value, a lot of much needed need to Jacksonville in general. Your community, as Mr. Gaffney already stated, let's negotiate, right? Use this to your advantage. Let's talk to the mayor's office. Let's see what we can do to bring something that's needed into your community, all right? And Mr. Pittman, you already know more than anybody else what's needed. Let's use this platform to actually elevate your community, whatever it is you need. They're willing to work with you guys, it seems like. How much is this building going to cost? How much is this total project? $60 million, roughly.
78.
68? 78.
78.
78. I'm a businessman. At the end of the day, you have to understand where you stand sometimes. And as a businessman, you have to either take your losses, take your wins, but use whatever you can to your advantage. Negotiate, please. Trust me. And I don't want to put this pressure on you guys right now to negotiate. I would like to extend this opportunity to see if they could come back at any given time, set a threshold, $2 million, $1 million, whatever it is. Let's figure it out. This needs to be a win-win for everybody. So I would just use this platform as your leverage to get what you need in your community. That's pretty much it, as Mr. Gaffney stated. Ms. Pittman, hold community meetings. Let's figure out, let's identify what the need is. Traffic lights, how many do you need? STEM buildings, let's figure it out. We need to work together, is my point. So that's pretty much all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. We have one member in the queue, and then the district council person. Usually we would defer to the committee, but the district councilwoman is here. Let's hear her out here. And reminder, the public hearing is open, so we're question and answer still until we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair. Being that this is a quasi-judicial, I don't want to talk too much about it, but what I will say, since I've been in office, was the first time that I saw some of the renderings for the forensic lab and the medical examiner's office. And for the longest time, before yesterday, I thought the entire building. I had kind of heard different things, and of course, I think most of you all know that I inherited this. So there were some things that kind of happened before I became the city council person. What I will tell you is that there have been many years of studies, over the last 20 years of studies of what I've looked at in the community. And in terms of economic development for small businesses, restaurants, educational upgrades with parks, there are many different areas that have been needed over the years, and we definitely need some upgrades. We definitely need some resources to be spent in the district. I will also say I haven't seen anything in terms of upgraded in the community probably in over 30 or 40 years, other than maybe some of the fast food stores. We have Norwood Shopping Center, which is expanding in the area, which is not far from there. I'm looking at doing some other upgrades on the other side of 95, which will be an asset, working also with FDOT to really uplift that community. And looking at the renderings on yesterday, only about what they said 5 or 6% of that total building is the medical examiner's office. Is that correct? And I don't know, Mr. Crutchfield, if you'd like to come up and explain that. Would you share the building and what it is supposed to do? Because I was under the impression that it was almost the entire building. But as of yesterday, which was the first time that the community and the staff from the mayor's office, the different departments, we were all in one room. That had not happened. And I feel for what they're saying. I understand that. But at this point, it seems like we either have to do something up or down, because we've been doing this quite a long time, and it was before I came into office. So if you would just share just a little bit in terms of the facility and the capacity and what you have now, because that made more sense to me. I'd actually gone to the existing building, and that's what really, got my attention in terms of what they have and what they're proposing as a state-of-the-art forensic site. So if you just share with my colleagues, because I don't know if y'all knew that, I didn't, and because you only heard about the medical, that's all I heard was about the medical examiner's office. But I really want you to talk about this facility, and we're probably going to be the only one in the state of Florida that has a facility like this. Is that right?
Through the chair, for the most part, yes.
Okay, so would you share with my colleagues what you shared with me or the community last night?
Tim Crutchfield, District 4 Medical Examiner's Office, Director of Operations, through the chair. So our current facility, which some of you have already explored or had opportunity to visit, was actually built in 1968, roughly. We're existing right now in about 2,300 square feet as compared to the roughly 50,000 square feet that we're proposing to build. So since 1968, which was the original medical examiner's facility, all operations were contained in that one small footprint. So when we talk about operations, we're talking about laboratory/toxicology support. We're talking about forensic investigations. We're talking about administrative specialists. And we're talking about autopsy and decedent storage. For some of you, I've already expressed during the tours, my current office is repurposed. My current office used to be the cooler. So that's in the current footprint. In 1994, there was a project through the City of Jacksonville which added portions to the medical examiner's office, which was the actual autopsy suites separate from the original building, as well as a second story to house toxicology services. Today, that is still the current footprint. Since 1994, which at that point in time, we had roughly 1,375 cases supporting the counties, we are still in that footprint, yet, as closing out calendar year 22, we were at 3,300 cases. I do believe that's roughly 140% increase in our caseload in the same footprint in 1994. So fast forwarding to our current project, We're moving forward with roughly 50,000 square feet. We're trying to bring our medical examiner services, along with toxicology and all of our ancillary supports, such as anthropology, odontology, and all the other necessary components that our physicians, MDs, need to make their assessments to determine the cause and manner of death, for which we are statutorily required up under jurisdiction, state of Florida, to bring closer to families, support law enforcement, and all the other ancillary support, and to give that closure to and dignity and respect to the decedents. Within this new facility, we're coming into the 21st century. I personally feel that we're still living in the early 20th century in our current footprint. When we go down to do x-ray or radiological support, we have a push cart x-ray machine. I can speak for myself. If I went to a physician's office for a physical right now and they come wheeling out an x-ray machine for me that was dark brown and dark green from the 60s, I'm getting up going somewhere else. In this new facility, we have the space, the capacity to bring us in the 21st century with low-doc scanners, CT scanners, the necessary tools that our physicians and our professional support staff need to bring quality service and closure to families and the decedents. In addition, one of the things that we currently do, which is limited, I almost forgot, is that we do have relationships with outside agencies being University of Florida, Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine, which is a medical school based in Pennsylvania, but they have a campus now in JU. Some of you may have remember that when they came to Jacksonville University, as well as Bradenton. Those third and fourth year medical students do come to and rotate through our facility. Also, with University of Florida, they have a graduate medical education program. That's where physicians, once they pick their specialty or line of work that they want to focus on for the rest of their career, namely pathology, they rotate and get mentored and tutored by our forensic pathologists. Without that knowledge, our growing or budding medical community, they're not going to be there for us when we need them the most. So with
I
that
also
being
want
said,
you to share, this will be my last thing, about, I was concerned about, the funeral homes coming in, picking up bodies and all that kind of stuff. From what you said last night is that there is an area where they go in, they drive in, and you really can't see from the outside. Is that correct?
through the chair, Councilmember Pittman, that is absolutely correct. The way the facility was designed, it is totally encapsulated. For those particular transactional services, those vehicles would enter the property, notified by a buzzer, a stanchion. They would proceed, a gate would open or a garage door. They would back into that garage, and the garage door comes down. No one on the outside would even know. They could only speculate what transactional activities are occurring in that building. Another thing is, I know that people are concerned about seeing hearse or some of your traditional body transport vehicles. In today's society, you could pull up at a red light and you're right next to a Chevy van and be none the wiser that it is a funeral home transporting decedents. So that's going to be kind of limited, as well as the activities for our medical examiner's office, even current. We may have 20 transactions a day, so that's just 20 vehicles. And that's just during the normal working hour period from roughly 8:30 to 4 p.m. That's our open hours to funeral homes and the public.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you gave them an overview of what we heard last night for them to make any decisions at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Amaro for the first time. Thank you for your patience.
Through the chair, I don't have any questions. I've just got a statement.
You're the last in the queue. If you give me the ability to ask, I have 3 little basic questions, and we'll close the public hearing, and I'll make you first if you want.
Okay.
Yes.
Whatever works.
Okay, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, we're not closing yet, so I'll get to you after we close the public hearing. Good thing about being the chair is everyone else gets to ask all these good questions first, and I'm just left with really small questions, just clarifications, mostly related to kind of some of the concerns from the community that I heard. I heard that people weren't notified and they didn't know that this was going on. Can someone from the planning department confirm for me the law on rezonings and how many feet within the property are legally allowed or are supposed to notify, and if we put the sign out front and if the basic measures that we do to announce a rezoning were met in this case?
To the chair. So we are required by ordinance to mail out notices to properties that are located within 350 feet of the subject parcel on all sides at a minimum of 14 days prior to the first public hearing. So those mailed notices were sent out, and staff has a list of those addresses that were sent. We also send out letters to neighborhood associations that are within the surrounding area and any CPAC that 350 feet might hit. So we had quite a few of neighborhood organizations and associations that were listed within that mailed notice as well. We also require that notice signs are placed out on the property, minimum of 250 feet on all access ways of public or private right-of-ways. So those notice signs were placed out. Staff did do a site visit and did indicate that the posted signs were on the property. And then we also advertise in Daily Record.
All right, and you can confirm that all those things happened in this case, in this instance?
Correct, all of those did occur.
Okay, thank you. Next, Mr. Teal, there's a statement made about preference versus requirement when it came down to CCG1 versus was it PBF1. So can you just clarify for that? So it's a preference that the city rezones government buildings to PBF1 as opposed to a legal obligation? Can you just clarify that?
Sure. To the chair. What the zoning code says with regard to PBF1 is that any lands that are owned by federal, state, or local governments should be rezoned to PBF1. The reason why we've determined that that's an aspirational is because of the fact that we can't mandate the federal government rezone property, for example. We can't mandate the state rezone property, but there is a preference to pursue that if it is a government use that's on a government-owned property. Now, the distinction is that if you've got a government use that's leasing property, then the position of the planning department is that you don't require the property owner, if they're going to lease to the city, for example, that they rezone the underlying property to PBF1.
So without that language in the ordinance of preference, the medical examiner's building could be built in CG1 right away. If it was a private entity, a private funeral home or something like that, it could be built tomorrow?
Correct. That is the interpretation of the planning director.
All right. And then one clarification to the administration. There were some neighbors that were concerned that the liquor store building that is aspired to be purchased had to be a part of the medical examiner's office, but we're also saying that it needs to be a public use. So are we saying that it can be a STEM lab or it can be a park or a platform diving pool or whatever, anything that could be a public use, we can do that? It doesn't have to be part of the medical examiner's operations?
To the chair, it does have to be somehow connected to the medical examiner's office. I think that interpretation might be a little bit looser in order to fit in like the continuing education opportunities, but it can't just be a pool or a park. As OGC mentioned before, we unfortunately just can't go around buying private property with public dollars. So there has to be some sort of use assigned to this, hence why it's wrapped up into this project.
All right, I don't know if I got any further clarification. So it can't just be anything the community wants, it has to be somehow related?
Somehow related.
So to OGC, what is the definition of related? Is because they teach things there to college kids, we can host JU students over there and teach classes or something? I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that all of those would be related. I mean, as long as the classes were, medical-based, forensic, that kind of a use, and that's, part of it is how we're acquiring the property, and so that's why it needs to be affiliated somehow. What that means is really kind of our determination as to what type of use would be affiliated with the medical examiner's use, but also could be open to the public, could be used for, some other education component, those kinds of things.
All right, those were my questions. I have no one else in the queue, so we're going to go ahead and close this public hearing and bring the bill back to committee. I'll entertain a motion. I have a motion and a second. Mr. Amaro, a promise is a promise. I recognize you first, sir. This is where you bring it home.
I've been waiting so long, I forgot what I was going to say. Here's the bottom line, and I'm a bottom line kind of guy. City dropped the ball. Disappointment. City failed to communicate well with the community. Disappointment. The condition of the current medical examiner's office. Disappointment. Disappointments all around. But we've been elected to fulfill a fiduciary responsibility of doing what is best for this community, for all of us. And I concur with what Councilman Arias and Councilman Gaffney said. This is an opportunity for this community to grab a hold of the city and say, hey, you need to do something for us. ABC, you need to do something for us. But we have a fiduciary responsibility, as made clear by General Counsel Teal, to make decisions based on competent, substantial evidence. So it puts us in a tight spot, making decisions not based on emotions, but what's before us. I would encourage this community, like my colleagues have suggested, you're at the table, get what you can while you're at the table.
Thank you very much. And you have the Chief Administrative Officer sitting right in front of you. So I think that's the opportunity. She's here. She's nodding her head. Councilmember Gaffney, you're recognized.
Councilman Amaro, you took the words right out of my mouth. As I close, that's my recommendation to the community. Yeah, just pretty much, we finna vote. Get with the mayor's office and see what you could get from out this. As my colleague said, we're finna invest $78 million on the north side in a black neighborhood. Can we at least make sure 7 or 8 black people got a job that's working, that's building and construction? Can we at least make sure 7 or 8 black people that's working inside? $78 million on the north side in our communities. And I can pretty much assure you, if I go out there tomorrow, it's probably not like 2 or 3 blacks. That's my biggest frustration. I know we probably go past this tonight. I know we invested $5 million, and I get that. But at least let's invest in that area. That's my biggest thing. Let's find a black general contractor. Let's find some black construction workers. At least let's invest in these communities. I'm not sure what the community want, but yeah, they could use some enhancements. I'm not sure what the community want, but my request to the mayor's office, let them have that building. I'm not sure if we could do that, and I'm not sure if they even want that. And I'm not even saying put a price if we pass it tonight, but at least let it be worth it. At the end of the day, they gonna have to go home to this. We all go back to our homes. They're going to have to live with it. They're going to have to sleep with it. A year or 2 from now, it won't matter to us. It'll matter to them. So at least let's meet them halfway, and let's make it worth it. That's all my ask from the mayor's administration is. At least let's invest back in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Councilmember Carlucci.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've kind of figured out why. Generally, when we have a rezoning come in here, it's because someone's asking to do something that's not currently zoned to do. So that's why I'm struggling to find any competent substantial evidence, and I've tried. I've looked through the list. I've looked through all of the documents that they've had, and there isn't any because this is not a rezoning to change the use. It's a rezoning by the owner. by the classification of the owner. So that's where I'm at on it. I completely agree with all the comments that have been made by my colleagues. But as it stands right now, I will support it based upon that. And to my colleague, Mr. Amaro, that's how we are tasked to vote on that. And I know that doesn't sit well, and that's how we have to vote on these quasi-judicial matters. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you. Through the chair, my only request would be Mayor's office, Councilmember Pittman. We're going to vote on this today. We're going to vote on this next week. We have a week. I know you can't identify what the needs are, but can we identify an amount of dollars so that way then you have for next year or for the next couple months to know what you're working with? Because what I don't want is for us to say all this and then, which I know they're not going to do this, but the mayor's office to say, oh, well, we'll get back to it at some point. At least you'll have something to hold on to. So from now to next Tuesday, next Monday, let's get with the mayor's office to see how much money they can contribute to this community. And I'm not just talking about to your district. I'm talking about to that immediate area as well. And let's just work together because, folks, I tell you right now, like this opportunity doesn't come often where there's a zoning change and the community gets something out of it. Just use it to your advantage. It's a win 100% of the way for you guys. Even if you don't see it as a win, make it a win. And that's pretty much what I have to say. But once again, closing point, let's identify how much money we could get by next week. Because honestly, that might determine if I'm going to vote on this or not next week, even if I vote on it today. Thank you.
All right, I'll go to Councilmember Johnson next, and I'll let you close out, Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I have a question. I don't know if I can still ask a question. If it's that in the right posture? Question, I think it's for the administration. It's about JSEBs. Is this grouping going to still, based on what my colleague, Mr. Chair, Councilman Gaffney said, are there these JSEB requirements for the contractors for this building?
Robin Smith, Public Works. So this project has a 15% JSEB requirement. So 15% of that $78 million will be going to JSEBs.
Okay, thank you. So what I was going to say, Mr. Chair, and I have to echo the sentiments of my colleagues as well. Obviously, we do have a responsibility we're tasked to do. But I want to say this. From day one, and I've got to just pause to say this, I know we are obviously charged with a very monumental task, but I am so, for lack of a better term, proud of this committee because we, on our first days in office, took up this legislation, and every member of this committee did not rubber stamp this and just move it down the road. And I am incredibly proud of the work that we have done, whether it be going to meetings, going into the community, doing the research that it takes. And I'm honored to be a part of this body who is at least putting in the work, and we are holding everyone to task. No, it wasn't the administration's fault, but it is our fault if we don't make this work. It will be all of our fault. So I am honored to sit with you and find a solution for this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pittman.
To the chair, first of all, I want to say thank you for such a robust discussion tonight, because this is what I really wanted, and that's why I'm here tonight. As the chair of the JSEB program, I am a big proponent of having JSEBs on projects like this, and I think it's very important that we have people who work and live in the community as well. I would tell you, you can count on me to work with the residents in this project, along with the mayor's office, which we have started some preliminary discussions about what that community needs. And it's not just for that area, Councilman Arias. I just want to let you know, because District 10 is almost 70,000 individuals, residents. So I want to let you know that there is a lot of need, a lot of broken promises that have never been fulfilled, And I'm that champion. I lived in that community. I've had family that lived in that community. And I think I've lived on every side of town but Mandarin. So I have a good feel about the community. I have my finger on the pulse. I do my homework. I've done 20 years of studies that I will roll out in the next few weeks, which I will share with you all. But I care about that community. You know, what matters to them matters to me as well. And are we going to agree on everything? Absolutely not. But if we can compromise to what that community needs and it should have in terms of resources, I'm that person. So we're not just talking tonight. I'm willing to roll up my sleeve and work where we can get resources from the mayor's office, which the mayor is committed to doing. So we're not just talking, and I just want to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight and bring the department heads and the staff from the medical examiner's office. And if you all have not gone over to see the medical examiner's office now, I urge you to do that. And you'll see why this project is important to the community from an economic standpoint.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Pittman. I will add a little on the end as the chair, just as a point of personal privilege here. To the committee, I echo what Councilmember Johnson said. No shot at the last LUZ committee, but we probably would have passed this in that meeting in July had it come to us. There weren't, a lot of questions to be asked. It had a planning department approval, planning commission approval. But we had a new group, and this new group was eager to ask questions, and due to those questions and this new administration, we took some time, and I think we're in a better place. To the community, we can't put a condition on this legally today, but you've got the people in the administration, and again, no shot on the last administration, just like no shot on the last LUZ committee. I believe this administration will hold to some promises if they make them to you. I think that they're all here nodding their heads and wanting to help this community and wanting to do something. So take them for that. Get with them. Make those suggestions. I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but I think there's a pathway to some improvements to the community and some resources to come to the area. So that's my 2 cents in the end. I will be supporting this. So there's no other speakers in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote. We already moved it, Vice Chairman.
5 yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you've approved 2023-0331. Again, thank you for everyone's patience and the healthy dialogue we had tonight. So let me find my bookmark. We are back to, where are we at? I think we're on page 12, item 20.